our conversation was interesting, like talking about like how your last shepherd was a little bit different than him and how easily trainable it sounds like he was. It's just funny, like even if they're the same breed, dogs can have little quirky personality traits or bad behaviors that they're really fixated on. Just like siblings, like human siblings, can be so vastly different.
You took him into the store if he was extremely nervous and shaky, because he was extremely shaky.
Sure.
He held his commands.
Okay.
But he just seemed extremely nervous, and I don't know, like, I don't want to overdo it. We were only there for like 20 minutes.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's a possibility that I can like do more harm than good, trying to get him to
Like
relax
adjust.
in that environment.
Yeah, so the way that we'll handle stuff like that, because it is a new environment, I don't know if he's ever previously been in that store with you before. So he's just kind of getting used to a new set of rules, a new thing. So as we're going out into the world, we may see him kind of look around and be a little bit less confident than he is in the comfort of our home. Naturally, we're in a new setting, so he's just trying to figure everything out. When we see that nervous state of mind, we almost kind of want to make, like, once a week, can you get him out? Can you get him out somewhere to a store and get him socialized in that environment? Because we see that a lot, like German Shepherds are kind of just more nervous. But in his stay with us, we got him out a couple of times a week, and I didn't notice too much of that nervousness. So even when we went...
Video, like, 'cause he was like literally,
Yes, yeah.
you know, shaking.
Sure. And he might just have been a little bit nervous in that particular scenario, but what we're looking for is he able to listen through being nervous? So we can get too hung up on how is he feeling right now, what is he doing, he's shaking, but we also have to look at the successes. He listened to all of your commands, he was being a very good boy, and maybe that just means that set up, like once a week you go out to a store and you get him a little bit exposed. Do a long downstay somewhere, go to a coffee shop, go to Home Depot, where you feel like you can explore with him a little bit more and get him to maintain those commands.
So how long would you recommend in the store? Like, if I take him to the store,
Yeah,
what's a good time frame?
let's say like a good to 10 to 15 minutes is what we'll usually do. So with his field trips with us, I did extend them out to an hour and a half. And we went to Crocker Park, as you saw. And, you know, initially he was like looking around, head on a swivel, but very good at maintaining that heel position. We went into Barnes & Noble. I found like a quiet space to go sit, and I put him into that down. And when we first put him into that down, of course, he was like looking at all the people, the carts were going by, and he was a little bit nervous. But ultimately, he was able to settle just like he is here. So I think it's just going to take a little bit more exposure, working with you, and just understanding the rules. And I guarantee we'll start to see some confidence with that.
Every night we've been doing, bringing cat.
Yeah.
Cat up
Sure.
Cats are taking turns.
Yes. Okay.
and then, I mean, basically we have him sit there, he's there, but then I walk him around and, he's doing pretty good.
Perfect.
He wanted to look at,
Good.
except for when they dart away.
Yeah.
That's kind of the,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but I think he's done good.
100%.
Yes.
He hasn't gotten up, and he's not staring at him. It's funny because if he thinks we're not looking at him, he'll look to the cats, but the minute our head moves, he looks away.
Pretending like you're not looking, huh, buddy?
But there's definitely like none of that deep stare that you saw when you brought him.
Good.
Yeah, he does very well them stationary. I think the other day he thought one of them ran across, so he ran to the gate.
Yeah.
But he didn't bump it. And I just told him no and
Perfect.
corrected him. And
Excellent. Yeah, we want to see like any movement because his brain is like, you think he had such a long time of practicing cats, I go chase. Cats, I go chase. And now we're kind of reconditioning his brain. Cats, if I look at them and I go toward them, I'm going to get a big consequence here. So I would, like you did, correct any of the movement toward them, even if he thinks he hears them, the jingle of their collar, them running by, anything like that. has, besides going after, or not really going after, but moving toward the cat that one time, had you seen anything else, like, from him?
No,
The very first night, we had to correct him in his,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes, but that was it. Yeah, he got 2 stern corrections.
Okay.
for the crate.
Perfect.
He whines a lot, but that's okay, right?
Yeah.
We don't correct
Yeah.
for that, correct?
Yes, yeah, we tend not to correct for whining because it's more of a state of mind thing, and dogs don't necessarily know that they're doing it. So it's just kind of tackling the big things, the cats, and then down the road we can look at like how can we help the whining get a little bit better. But that sounds like a monumental success.
Yeah, he settles down quickly. Yesterday, last night, we had to charge this, and I was like, well, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
With him not having the collar on, and he didn't fuss at all when she came in, whined a little bit, but it was like a minute, if that, and then he settled down.
Sure,
So,
nice.
no rocking the crate.
Good boy.
Good.
Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's get one of the cats up here, and we'll just work him around the cats again. She's like, why do I have to be the bait cat?
You were the one hiding under the fish tank.
She's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, so none of this whining I'd correct for because, again, he's doing really well holding the position right here. And I just want it to be crystal clear of when the point is that he does get corrected if he made a very committed movement toward the cat or the new person. So we'll do a version like we did last time with the command, and then in a couple moments here, we'll release him. And I just want to see what his natural inclination is to do, not only with Paige here, but does he go over to the cats if they start running, how we're assessing things not in command. Because I'd like you to start pushing some of this without us solely relying on obedience, that curb his enthusiasm toward the cats and start to really make sure we're refining it, him just not doing it, and we don't need obedience to control him necessarily. It's nice to kind of observe sometimes too. But this is a monumental, massive success right here with him like not doing that heavy staring toward the cat. The cat came in, he's chilling on his bed. So this is huge progress.
for us too, trust me.
I'm sure you spent so much of your life with him just really struggling with that issue as well, which can feel like really, really exhausting. Good job, buddy. I'm going to go ahead and release him. Okay.
If she runs, should I let her?
Yeah, you can let her run. Okay, Rude. Come here, Rude. Hi, buddy. And it's going to allow him to be free. No. Off. Even jumping on the couch, there was no fixation right at the cat.
True.
And she didn't clean herself, so
Yeah.
that's the plus.
She's like, I really like this brushing, but why am I here?
Now, out of curiosity, is this some sort of sign or reaction that he comes over to me?
No, he probably just feels like safe with you, so he's like, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to plant myself next to a person. And that's very natural as we're working on these big ticket items and we're really suppressing the desire to go after cats when he got onto the couch. Sometimes we can see them not be as open and confident about going around our house, which is generally what we want. I don't want him to feel like this is his house and he has free reign. So we corrected him and he's like, Dad, will you help me?
Right. So I don't know if it's better that I stay here. Or
Yeah, you can walk around if you'd like to.
No, I don't think so. I think that was fine.
And it can be really tempting because we think that he thinks he's in a command to keep repeating okay. But I just want him to realize he's just chilling. So your routine right now, as we mentioned before, was like he's in command anytime the cats are out. Okay, so you haven't done anything with him not being in any command just yet? Just to clarify, okay. I say,
No, you didn't tell us to.
Yeah,
and
no,
I'm
no,
not
you're-
pushing the envelope.
that's okay. So this week, I'd like to try to have him not in command, just like we're doing right now. So have him out, bring the cat up, and if he makes any movement, we're obviously correcting that direct movement without, yes, we can still utilize our commands when we need them, but I just try to test out the waters a little bit, do exactly what we're doing here. The only difference is we're not putting him in any obedience command.
So just for clarity, the scenario that happened at Teenage Twin,
Yes,
so basically, she runs in, and he gets confused.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I just correct him
yes.
and don't really give him a command.
Yeah,
What?
exactly. So what I think she described the first time that happened is that he was confused and he was running when we wanted him to get back to the bed. So I talked to her about it in that moment. If I tell him no for breaking a command, I'm going to send him back to the bed. In the scenario that I want you to practice, let's say like Rudy's free time. So I want us to be prepared to address it, muzzle on, have the e-collar with you, and then try to do something just like this where you're petting the cat. And then if he goes forward, he's getting corrected. And basically what I want to see is what we did that first time I corrected him, where he just kind of moves away from the cat. Like when he ran into the sunroom that one time. So what I'm looking for in the moment is that the anticipation toward the cat, the drive toward the cat, is gone when he gets corrected.
It's okay for him just to kind of walk up and sniff Tina.
I just don't want to see any movement, chasing, intent behind it. If he's just kind of leisurely walking around, that's okay. But if he's like hard staring and then the intent changes, we can go ahead and correct him there. So whether the cat's jump down or start running. And again, we'd want to do this structured. So let's say 30 to 45 minutes having him out with the cats. And starting to see if he's not in a command, is the suppression, are we still suppressing the behavior to go toward the cats? So I'll give you an example that kind of makes sense. A lot of people feel like when they have a dog that's a big jumper and they jump on people when they come in, that we have to make the dog go into a bed because of the jumping. But then the dog's not really ever learning that the jumping is what we don't want. And then we constantly say, go to your bed or go to your crate. And then we're never addressing the issue at hand. So while we spent the first week getting the cats comfortable, getting them back upstairs, this next week, I just want to make sure that we're starting to tackle, we don't have that desire to run toward the cats anymore.
I have a baby gate that I could put on the door, but have it high enough so the cats can run underneath it.
Sure.
And like maybe like have that open.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I don't know what you
Yeah.
recommend.
Yeah, you can totally do that. Like our boss, David, as you saw in that session, he has a baby gate that has a cat door in it.
Yes,
And
I
the
have
cat,
those too.
I think like he closes it sometimes, but the cat has basically free reign. But when we're doing a session like this, we just want to be sure that we're prepared. So if we feel like we're in the middle of cooking dinner or answering the door on a phone call working, we don't want to put him in this kind of scenario just yet. We're working toward being able to be leisurely in the house again. But I'd look at, we're going to capitalize on his mistakes without needing to necessarily rely solely on obedience. I think it's good that we went about things like starting with commands just so they can regain their confidence about coming upstairs and not feeling like this is a life or death situation for me. And now it's good to see their confidence come up a little bit. Well, this is looking awesome. This is looking really good. You guys have done some good work here.
Yeah, we almost didn't do it last night because time got away from us.
Yes.
Bill said, well, it's okay, we can do it. And
Yeah.
so we did.
It's good, like when we hear clients that have issues that you're going through, sometimes they're like, I just don't know how to handle it, because people lead busy lives and it can be hard to carve out time. And then they kind of go through the mindset of they're not prepared when it does happen, and then we're constantly in a cycle of not being prepared, and they're like, where's the damn remote? I want to correct the dog. So if we can set aside time like this, we can guarantee that we're prepared, and we can guarantee that we can capitalize on any nonsense that he's making, so we can feel like we're really addressing this. So I'm glad that you guys pushed yourself last night.
And then we also had some deer the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Run through, and he didn't break his bed command. He looked out the window, but he didn't attack it, so that it
Well, we can look at that. Like, I still want you to be able to tell him no with any of the annoying behaviors. And, like, I know it can be a little bit confusing, but if he has his toy or he's chewing on the blanket, if he's on the couch, we can say, like, off and get him to come off. And then we can correct him no if we need to. And then if he's kind of destroying a toy, we can tell him drop or out and go and get the toy. So rather than saying don't, because sometimes he might push the boundaries a little bit with that. And if we're always kind of going with our correction, we're speaking the same language to him. So if he's doing something that we don't want him to do, just tell him no and give him a correction. Whether that is from chasing the cats to doing something minuscule, it's okay to still utilize your e-collar. Throughout his board and train, we were speaking a lot and communicating, and like so many other people, you were like, well, how is this going to work at home? Like, some people just can't understand, but what we did is built an excellent foundation with him and hold him accountable, so he starts to be able to depend on the first time we ask him to do something, he's able to perform it. So it goes beyond like the training that we're doing in the facility, and our training is designed to be able to transfer over into the home, into the park, whatever you may want to do with your dog. So ultimately, you can take him places and do things like this with him and feel like we're really giving him the best life possible. Yeah, I think our conversation was interesting, like talking about like how your last shepherd was a little bit different than him, and like yeah, and how easily trainable it sounds like he was. It's just funny, like, even if they're the same breed, dogs can have little quirky personality traits or bad behaviors that they're really fixated on. Just like siblings, like human siblings, can be so vastly different.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, Tina basically trained the first dog.
Yes, yeah. Yes, but look at all the work that you put into him and all the things you already had in place when he came to training, so... He was muzzle trained, he had his e-collar on already. It wasn't for a lack of trying, you know, you really were committed to him.
But I think I also let emotion play a part of it too. Even though he knew the commands, he didn't feel that I was truly firm on those commands.
Yes, he didn't believe in you. Mm-hmm.
You guys said, nope, this is,
Yeah.
means what it means when said once.
Yes, and that's the hardest part with, like, we let our emotions, because our love is an emotion and we love our animals and we don't want to do anything to hurt them, and we honestly feel like we're doing best by them. But then you realize, like, being firm with an animal is one of the most loving things you can do. So it can definitely, like, get cloudy and we're like, we don't want to hurt him, we don't want to, you know, shock him, overshock him, but then you realize, like, how responsive he is to that. And you can still have a loving life with him. It's kind of like those shows that the bad teenagers, like, go to prison and, like, they get, it's called, like, Scared Straight or something. So not that we're instilling fear in him, but we're instilling the dependability that he knows we're gonna hold him accountable too. And I bet when I left last week, he was like, "Ooh, good job, good riddance to that person." And he's like, "Mom and Dad, that was ridiculous, wasn't it?" And you guys were like, "It actually wasn't." And he's like, "Oh crap. Let's give this another week with like what we're doing now. And then we can consider, if you're up for it, you can move everything up here." I still want to be really structured with him and make sure that we feel like we're in a really good place with his training and his desires to go after the cats. And then long term, how this will be successful is continuing to get on him for any movement toward the cats, even subtle movements, and then always supervising them together. So obviously, if you ever left the house or you had a pet sitter come in, somebody new, we would have the protocol if he goes in the crate. If we feel like we're really distracted, he goes in the crate.
So you have faith that at some point you won't have to have that muzzle on around the cats?
Yeah, I do. So the muzzle we're going to use for a little bit longer because we want to be so stupidly dumb safe. Even if things have gone amazing for the next 3 weeks, again, we'll say we're treating the first month home as an extension of the board and train. So I want every situation to go down possible. I want her to dart. I want how to see, because with like people over and things like that. And the more we gain trust and confidence in his ability to listen, the less we're going to have to really depend on the muscle. But there's nothing wrong with using the muscle long term either. But I'm very confident that if we're seeing already this level of success with him ignoring the cats, then we can feel confident with starting to remove the muzzle eventually. Hey guys, it's Bridget, and I'm with Steve, who was a massively reactive dog, who reacted to everything from leaves to dogs, and it made his owners really question if they'd ever be able to give him a full life and not walk at 4 a.m. So as you can see, one of our perks of being a company is that we offer daycare services after the training has ended. So Steve's here for daycare day, where he's continuing to build on his skills in a structured and healthy way. And you can see the reactivity is completely gone, and he's just kind of chilling, having a good time, wagging his tail, making some friends. Even with our wonderful, beautiful, amazing camera woman, as you can see, we're going to include a clip of what Steve used to do with her. I'll take him from you real quick. Prior to kind of going through the training process, where he did not like the camera, he did not like Paige, and now he's completely warmed up and living his best life. And just having a good old time here.
Yeah, so we'll just kind of see where things are at and then kind of go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just pop this off, let her do her thing. And then why don't you just go ahead and try to get her onto the bed. So walk up to it and just tell her bed.
Silly.
That's all right.
Silly. But.
Perfect. All right. And then we're just going to do that a couple times. So go ahead and release her.
Okay.
Perfect. You can go ahead and walk away. Nice. And then same thing. Just walk up to the bed, tell her bed again. Don't worry about where she's at. Just go ahead and tell her bed.
Silly bad. No.
Perfect. Nice. Now, just with her being so amped up right now, give her a little bit more time to kind of like, to kind of fully commit. If she's kind of making her way here, even if she does stop and sniff real quick, I want to see her completely blow you off before you get a correction. Okay. Let me just call her off.
Silly come.
There you go. Nice. Well, that looks good. And now you can see the energy level, how much we've already brought it down. So go ahead and just go and put her on that bed again.
Silly bed.
Perfect. And what level are you at right now?
19.
19. Cool. That seemed to be very effective, so I'm fine with that. All right, now we're just going to work some duration, so go ahead and just walk away. If she pops off, give her that correction, put her back on. Nice. How's she been doing with, like, in the house and stuff? Like, again, besides, like, the high energy and everything?
I think this is like situational. She knows where she is.
Yeah.
So she's acting right.
Okay.
When we're at home, like, we'll go to bed and then
Yeah.
it's hit or miss if she'll stay.
And it probably is a little bit of that, but it's just because she knows that the rules apply here.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's something where at home we're probably being either a little bit too loose or or lower on the levels, because clearly she knows what she's supposed to be doing. So I think it's just going to be a matter of just kind of transferring this back home and just kind of being a little bit more strict with her on these rules when we're going home. So tell her no, and then walk back up to the bed and tell her bed again. Perfect. And with this high energy too, I'm making a very clear picture. That's why I want you going back up to the bed every time. Just so, again, in this very high state, we can be a little bit higher on those levels because I'm giving her the picture that she knows. And if she's still deciding to blow me off, she's running up the stairs, she's going into the kitchen, whatever. I don't worry about like calling her over away from the kitchen, then walking her to the bed. Go stand by the bed, and then however many corrections you need, or if you need to go up on those levels, just turn that up, and then just keep getting her there until she goes, right? And don't get stuck on a level, right? I'm just looking for an effective level that works to motivate her to leave whatever she is, or calm down, or whatever, tune her ears back in to want to listen to you, right? But this looks great.
She goes to stay with my parents.
Okay.
And they don't like
Yep.
to use the collar.
And that's something too. Again, it's situational. You know, she knows she's going to be able to get away with your parents, so that's fine. Whatever. You know, she's not fighting dogs and tearing up stuff and stuff like that. So honestly, it's not going to ruin her training if it's there.
Yeah.
You know, she has free range there. That's fine. Whatever. Right. As long as she's not, again, doing serious behavioral stuff like chewing up things and resource guarding and all that. And then, like I said, just like here, once you transfer that back to home, she'll know, okay, grandparents' house, I can do whatever I want. When I come back with dad, I gotta listen, you know. Even if it's in that same day, you know. There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. And the good thing about this training is it's not, if you don't use it, you'll lose it kind of thing, right? So you can see like how fast she kind of went back into the groove. Yep. So just a matter of transferring this over. We can obviously practice that when I come out, but in the meantime, it's something where if people are coming over, or even if she's getting jumpy and barky and stuff with like the Amazon guy coming and dropping off packages and everything, I want to make sure that we are addressing those issues of like jumping on the door and barking out the window and all that, right? That just again is just no and correct, right? I'm just looking for her to stop that behavior. No, it's all right. He wants to be a part of everything. I want to be on top of her with that stuff where I'm just eliminating that issue. And again, it's just no and correct, right? I don't want to kind of put a Band-Aid on it where I'm just bringing her right to the bed and not addressing that issue, because it's telling her that like, okay, this is okay, but when I can get away with it, I can still do this thing, right? So I want to make sure I'm still giving those corrections for that so that we can hopefully at least lower that occurrence. And then when the people are actually coming in, then I would go and get her on the bed and then just address it just like this, right? Just no and correct if she hops off, walking her back on, and then making that picture super clear of, again, walking up, telling her bed, and making her go there, right? In terms of the house, definitely, I think the bed is like the best thing for in the house kind of situations. Obviously, you could use it down, but the bed just allows her a little bit more freedom of being able to move around and adjust and kind of work through those emotions a little bit more, rather than being kind of stuck in that down. Obviously, this is still looking really good, but I wouldn't worry too much about putting downs when people are coming over, or especially if they're walking around and stuff. The bed gives her a little bit more clear of a picture of where that perimeter actually is, you know.
My family always said, oh, man.
Say hey.
Hey, you go ahead.
Good job. Good job.
Oh my God!
Sorry, no petting, no petting. Come. All right, let's talk about that. No is a complete sentence. When we're out and about, we're doing stuff with our dog, we do not have to feel obligated to allow our dogs to say hi to anybody or anybody to encroach on our space and, you know, start petting our dogs, especially without permission. And we don't want to do this for a couple of reasons. Seamus?
Few reasons why we don't want our dogs to do it. Even if our dog is a kind, happy puppy that wants to just go and say hi to everyone, it's not in that moment where we are allowing our dog to do so. I tend to kind of with the walking get the dogs hyped back up and loses focus on the actual command itself. Obviously with dogs that are a little bit more fearful or reactive, it is something that we obviously want to keep them focused on the command and not allow them the opportunity to resort back to bad behaviors.
And sometimes we have to be really firm with people because as much as we think that we're not going to go and pet other dogs, other people don't really have that etiquette. So it's our job to kind of dictate to them, maybe teach them a little bit of a lesson by saying no and just kind of keep moving on. And try not to get too guilty about it because really you get to make the rules for your dog. Oh, don't worry, he's friendly. He's friendly. He's friendly. He's friendly.
Ma'am, get your dog.
He's friendly.
Ma'am, please get your dog.
He's friendly.
Come, let's talk about that. So in this situation, we're handling how to deal with an off-leash dog approaching your dog, right? The biggest thing, obviously, again, is advocating for your dog so that he doesn't feel like he has to do that himself. Big size difference in the size of my dog and the one that was coming up to us. And so very clearly I have to advocate for him so that he doesn't feel like he needs to stand up for himself. Now in that video, you could see that as I'm walking, the dog and the person are coming up to me, and I am simply just trying to get in between them and advocate and keep the dog moving and talk to the owner. It is very important to acknowledge the owner and let the owner know that they need to get their dog out of that situation because I am controlling my dog, and that's all I can kind of do in that situation. So as I keep walking, as I kept moving, the dog obviously continued to follow. That is where I start talking to the owner and tell them, right, you have to come get your dog or recall your dog or something, right? In that situation, still, when I kept walking and she's trying to yell at the dog to come over to it, it's something at that point, just allow them to do their thing and keep the dog focused on you and on the command. That will help from being distracted onto that other dog. If you try to sometimes move the other dog or pick up the other dog or anything like that, it can kind of engage your dog into that same situation.
One of the most important things in that situation is also to kind of remain calm and try not to be screaming and adding fuel to the fire, and just calmly try to get your dog out of that situation. Sometimes people are a little bit forward and they don't have the same kind of etiquette as we spoke about before. So it's important just to focus on how we can keep our dog safe, whether we have to use our foot to kind of guide the off-leash dog out of the way, or you get something like a pet corrector, which is just compressed air to create distance from your dog and the other dog. Whatever you need to do to keep everybody safe in that situation.
Oh my God, you have such a cute dog. Can I say
Thank
hi?
you. No, she's in training. Thank you, though. Good girl.
Are you sure I can't say hi?
Yeah, we're in training. She's working on some stuff. I'm sorry. Thank you for asking, though.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about that. Sometimes people can be thrown off guard when somebody asks nicely and politely to pet their dog. And our response with strangers is we have to weigh the risk versus the benefit, and the risks of your dog, one, having a negative reaction or just kind of snapping or trying to create distance from the stranger, really outweighs the benefit of your dog saying hi. And there is little to no benefit of your dog greeting other dogs or people while they're on leash. It just creates a really tense setting, and we don't want our dogs to find value in strangers over us.
So in the perspective of the person coming up to ask, it's definitely the best option to always ask to pet the dogs, but it's something where, as that person that is asking, just understand that not every dog is able to be pet, and not every owner wants their dog pet while they're walking. So it's something where if you're nice enough to ask, just know that if they say no, to kind of respect their wishes and to keep walking. Hi, can I pet your dog?
Yeah, give us 1 second.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, how are you? You're such a cute dog. You're so handsome.
We do not recommend allowing your dogs to say hi to other people. But if you're gonna do it, the way that you're gonna do it is releasing your dog from any command so they're not tense, whether they're in their down or their sit, and they feel like they can get away. Generally, we want to be able to be off leash when we're doing this. So if your dog is off leash trained or you're in a fenced area, we generally recommend giving your dog no leash tension at this time. So either dropping your leash or holding your leash really loose and making the interaction very minimal, and still correcting your dog for any jumping or inappropriate behaviors they may have toward the stranger, and kind of keeping it short and sweet and walking away, get your dog back in that command. The conclusion. As you're going out and about with your dog into the world, remember that you are not obligated to ever allow another dog or a person to come into your dog's space and start petting them. And you just have to use the power of your words to get people to kind of move away from you. And don't be afraid to be a little bit of a more firm if you need to be.
It's important to advocate for your dog so that they don't feel like they have to do it themselves. Remember that When you're on a walk, they're in the command, so make that a priority over anyone else or any other dog. Are you smiling?
All right, what are we saying?
Hope this helps.
Yes, so count us down. Hope this helps.